So I was saying how, well, the topic is sexual conflict. And so, but before that, I was saying how, because I'm the mistress of divorce, it's really about supporting women in divorcing themselves from people and situations, marriages, relationships, situations in general that are no longer serving them, right? Divorce is really about a separation, right? So you could say, well, I'm divorcing myself from this, or I'm divorcing myself from that. But of course, divorce, we're always, our first frame of reference is going to be marriage. So, of course, my core work is with women who have left long-term relationships and or marriages, right? So, I just wanted to put that out there as I segue into the topic, which is sexual conflict. And the reason why I talk about this is because we're discussing relationships. Sexual conflict, we think about a relationship between a man and a woman, right? I mean, we have books called, came out, I think this book came out in the 80s or the 90s. I can't remember, but Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Honestly, I never read the book, but just from what I know about the book and excerpts here and there, it's basically talking about sexual conflict. Men and women get into these relationships, and they have completely different goals in the relation when they get into these relationships with each other. Even though they think they have the same goals, most likely they don't. The male's first um, goal is sex, and the woman's first goal usually isn't sex. So therein lies the problem right there. There's the I heard a creator say a long time ago. He said that um, after sex, men get cloudy. I mean, women get cloudy and men get clear, right? So for a lot of men, from my understanding of men, right, they think they have to have sex with you first in order to see if they want to be with you. Uh, right. So and I'm not even going to get into the mind and the psychology of men today. I'm not really doing that. I mean, I'm sure I'll probably dip and dab in it, but that's not going to be the main focus. So when I'm saying certain things, of course, it's going to be taken from life experiences of my own, and then of course, women's lived experiences. Hey, Sabrina, because even though we're all different, and all of these things, we've been in relationships where even though they were different to a degree, a lot of times these relationships you can find commonalities in all of them, right? For women, we can always sort of connect on that level as far as like our lived experiences with having being in relationships with men, right? We can find some commonalities there, maybe have some of the same experiences, right? So in sexual conflict, it's actually biological. You see it in the animal kingdom. Sexual conflict is basically the male and the female, like I said before, having two different goals in this relationship. The male's goal is to have sex, his goal is to conquer, right? That is his goal to getting into any sort of relationship dynamic with a woman. Um, Even if they're not having physical, intercourse with each other, the male brain is about conquering. So he wants to conquer any woman that he deals with, whatever the capacity is, be it intimacy, even in the workplace, in corporate, it's always this conquering thing that they have going on. Like I remember when I used to work at the I don't want to date myself, but y'all probably never even heard of. Y'all might be too young. I'm not even about to date myself. I'm just gonna say I used to work at this school, um, and I was an enrollment rep over there at the school, and there was this dude I used to work with, and he tried his best to get at me. Basically, he called himself befriending me first, but I already knew what he wanted, and I was like, first of all, let's just get into a few things here. First of all, you're not my type. I'm not attracted to you in the least. Secondly, I don't. date coworkers. That's something that's always been like a thing for me. I don't date coworkers. And and that was it. Like, I'm not attracted to you, you're not my type, and I don't date coworkers, right? Hey, brown sugar. So but anyway, I mean, it was cool. I'm at, we're at work, I'm cordial, I'm not going to just be like the bitch and just be mean, and because there's no point in that, right? I'm at work, so I'm cool with y'all. We all coworkers. We're all here for the same goal. Everybody's cool, whatever, right? But reflecting back on that, when I talk about the conquering nature of the male, because he saw that he did not have a chance with me in that way, then he decided to start a smear campaign, right? Now, we always hear smear campaign. What's the first thing we hear now? We hear about narcissism, right? Um, I'm not even going to get into the narcissistic paradigm that is patriarchy. So therefore, men and women both are narcissists. Um, but anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Again, I mentioned about my girl Reverend Sahaja. If you want to get real deep into that, that's her thing. That's her area. But they are narcissistic. So because he couldn't get what he wanted, he started a smear campaign. So he just basically started talking shit about me. Like, and he wasn't even like making up lies about having slept with me or anything like that, but he was just talking shit about me. Like, I used to dress really cute when I came to work, right? I was all about the fashion and the cuteness. So I always was like very well put together. Right? And he was using words like calling me a hoe, and one time he told me I came into work looking like a slut, and just all this shit he was saying about me, right? And basically, now that I know what I know, that is still an aspect of conquering. So it was like, okay, well, she's not gonna let me fuck, so I'm gonna conquer her in another way, right? I'm going to, like I said, start a smear campaign. And so it just got to be like this whole thing. I had to end up calling headquarters. It was like a whole thing. But yeah, so when I talk about, the sexual conflict, it's there. The sexual conflict between men and women is just there. It's like this invisible force, this energy that is just there. And that is why you see so many relationships end up, people are having these difficulties in their relationships and their marriages, because neither one of you have the same goal going into this. And it's not to say that, there aren't some men who actually, want to get to know you for who you are outside of them trying to fuck. Yeah, sure. I mean, my brother, I always like to use my brother as a good example. And I know a couple of men who, are very much above that base nature of just trying to fuck as soon as they see a beautiful woman, right? But for the most part, on average, this is how most of them operate. Now, you have sex with him and he happened to still be interested or whatever, then you all form a relationship, whatever. We've all been in relationships, with men, long-term relationships with different guys, 1 year, 2 year, 3, or whatever. And and we were in these relationships with each other, and of course there was sex and all of that, right? So it's not to say that it can't turn into some sort of long-term relationship, because we know that it can, but for the most part it's still there. The sexual conflict is there. um for us, for women, the intimacy always leads to more. That's why the guy said women get cloudy, and we do. Like, and I think the reason why women get cloudy is that's still us operating in our base nature, which is reproduction, intimacy, and reproduction, right? And so within that, we talk about the bonding hormone of oxytocin and all of these things that are taking place when we're, in an intimate relationship with the man. So all of these things that are taking place, and then after, it's like, okay, what do I do with this energy now? Like, is he still gonna like me, or we're still gonna, or where is this going? All the stuff, all of the things that we start dealing with as women once we cross that threshold with a man, right? This is why, you always hear about how when you don't have sex with him, you have more power and all this kind of stuff. But it's not about having power against him. It's just about you maintaining your power. And as much as women don't like to accept that, as soon as you have sex with this man, you have given up an aspect of your power. Now, if you are a woman who has done the work on herself, now that's a whole different thing. We talking about a completely different mindset, but most women aren't doing that. Most women are going into these relationships with the same mindset. They all got the same mindset, right? But if you are a woman who is very self-aware, has done the work, knows who she is, know what she is and what she wants, and you can say to yourself, well, I want to have this experience with this particular man, and I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not looking, he got to be my man, and we got to be in this long-term relationship, and we got to live together, and we got to be up under each other all the time, and blah blah blah. Like, if you are beyond that, then you can enjoy and have a great experience with a man without it turning into all of this other shit. But for women, we have it in our minds that after we have sex with a man, he has to be our man, and that goes back to the shame of sex. This is why a lot of women, they have issues with sex workers, or they have women who are very much, like I said, they enjoy men for that experience, and that's it, right? They're not looking for anything else. And a lot of women, they're jealous and they have problems with women who are like that. But personally, I think that that's how it was a long time ago. I don't think that relationship dynamics, the way they are between men and women, were always like that. I think that that's something that started, once we started birthing more males on the planet, and women started being jealous of each other and started throwing each other under the bus for this man. I think it's sort of like all of these things that started taking place. But initially, I don't think that's how the relationships were. Well, I know that they weren't. I mean, you can just read books when God was a woman, and you'll see that it wasn't like that. So I think that it turned into the dynamics that we have today, because once women were taken out of their communal structure, once patriarchy really put the hammer down on society, onto women, that's when these relationships dynamics became what they are now. But it wasn't always like that. And if you take the nuclear family and all of this stuff, which I said is like the worst thing that could have ever happened to women, the nuclear family. The nuclear family is not for women. That is strictly for men. That is not for us. It is completely unnatural for women. And this is why we're fighting to keep these marriages together and fighting to stay in these relationships with these men, because it's unnatural. If it was so natural, then why do you have to work at it? Why do you have to fight for it? We have to fight for our marriage. Why do you have to do that? Who are you fighting? When people say that, who are they fighting? The marriage? The marriage is not tangible. There's nothing. It's the two people in it. So when they say they have to fight for it, what are you talking about? It's kind of weird. So, like I said, I just, the other women and men. Yeah. I mean, like, that sexual conflict is something that really needs to be studied, and most people are not, especially women aren't looking at that. I mean, you could just look at men on when you go online, and how quick they come into your comment sections to fight with you. That's sexual conflict. Dude, you don't even know me. But because you don't like what I say, you coming in here to fight with me? Who does that? I say married women don't like their men liking other women's pic. Oh yeah. Don't even get me started on how narcissistic women are, and how they are just as controlling and think they own men, just like men think they own women. Women are just as guilty of that. So, and this is why, yeah, and this is the, yeah, they're controlling both men and women, absolutely. And this is why there's always so much conflict between men and women, because men and women both want to own each other. Something took place to make men and women think that they own each other. And I keep saying what took place was religion, right? this patriarchal structure, the nuclear family. Those are the reasons why men and women think they own each other. Excuse me. So women traded in the communal structure, right, to be with a man. And this is why I say time and time again, we will probably never experience a matriarchy, a true matriarchy in our lifetime, right? Hopefully I don't know, hopefully our great granddaughters will be able to experience it, but we're not going to experience it. I mean, you have pockets of women who are coming together to form in some type of matriarchal community, and I think that's awesome. But as far as the structure in and of itself, it's not going to happen. We're going to be under this umbrella of this inverted matriarchy, which is patriarchy, right? This is why you have some people who say we do live in a matriarchy. I get what you're saying to a degree, but it's inverted, right? But when I always talk about how for women, just to maintain a healthy relationship with other women, you have to destroy that male, that that Prince Charming and whoever, whatever you want to call him, that was created when you were a little girl that you were fantasizing about. He just sort of resides back there in your subconscious mind. He's always there. And no matter how much women decenter men and all this kind of stuff, if you don't get rid of that dude, like I say time and time again, that's hanging out in the back of your subconscious mind that you've been fantasizing about ever since you was playing with your Barbies, it's not going to happen. You're never going to be able to have a great, healthy relationship with other women. It's just not going to happen because your propensity for jealousy is going to creep up at some point. And it's all about, for women, it's all about sexual competition. It's all about, can I look better than her so I can get the man? It's all about the male gaze, right? And so women are always competing for the male gaze. This is why you don't get along with the women at your job, because them bitches is all competing for the male gaze, right? um and so, it's the sexual conflict, like I said, it's always there. It's this invisible force that is there between men and women. you know and I think that until women address it, because women have to address it, men are not going to do anything. Okay, we already know that. Especially black men, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do the work. They're not going to get into that shadow and really do that work, right? They're not going to address that male shadow that they have. um they're just not going to do it, right? They're not going to address that beast that they have inside of them. They're not going to try and take, they're just not going to do it. So it's up to women to do the work on themselves. It's up to them to address the sexual conflict um, that they have within themselves, because there is a there. Okay, so basically, when I say the sexual conflict between men and women is there, but each individual has it. Like a woman, she has some sort of aspect of sexual conflict within herself, and that sexual conflict is the shame that's around sex, the jealousy of other women. You see a woman that's beautiful, there's an aspect of sexual conflict with that, right? So you have sexual conflict, you have sexual competition, right? That takes place between the sexual competition takes place between women. The sexual conflict is in each woman's, within herself, where her insecurities, her shadow, all of these things live. And she's in conflict with her own self. This is why I always talk about the inner war. She's at conflict with herself, right? She has to address her own inner sexual conflict, right? So until women do that, there's always going to be dysfunctional relationships between them and other women. And then of course there's going to be dysfunctional between you and a man. I always say, if you can't maintain great relationships with other women, how are you going to maintain a great relationship with a man? Women need both. We're communal. We need other women, right? We need each other. So when this dude start acting a damn fool, your girls got you, right? He acted damn fool. You got to take you and your babies. We got to go. Your homegirl, she got a place for you, or your auntie, your sister, whoever. They got you. This is what women need, right? And So if you, like I said, if you can't maintain, if you're one of those chicks who's always throwing your girl under the bus for some dude, you're never going to have healthy relationships with women, and you're never going to have a healthy relationship with a man. If, that sad man that's out there who actually like has his shit together, like, you won't be able to attract him because you are in such utter conflict within yourself, right? So this is when I say women are always talking about wanting the right man, looking for the right man, where are all the good men, and blah blah blah, and the men who, you know, the men need to go into therapy, and we're the men who have done the work on themselves, and blah 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 blah. Well, you haven't done the work on yourself. So why do you think you deserve to have that type of man? And women carry all the power, right? With great power comes great responsibility. You have to do that work. You have to do the shadow work. You have to do it. It can't be avoided. If you want to have good functional relationships with other people, you have to do the work. Because if you don't, that lack of self-awareness, that lack of identity, that propensity to jealousy, the sexual conflict, the sexual competition, all that shit is going to be leaking in every relationship you find yourself in, be it with other women or with a man. It's going to leak. It's going to leak. You can't avoid it. And that's why I'm always talking about women getting down and dirty and doing the work. If most women in the room, yes, they would be eliminated. Absolutely. And I think to some degree, women know this. They know this. They know if they were got real serious collectively and done that work, men will be eliminated. I mean, we are already hearing about the disappearing Y gene, right? This is nature taking nature. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I'm trying to say. I cannot think of the what is it? Oh my gosh. Natural order. I couldn't think of that. Natural order is being restored. So yeah, so that's what's taking place. That's why we're hearing about the disappearing Y gene. Because natural order is doing what it do. Natural order is ordering, right? So yeah, but absolutely, they would be. Um, you know, and honestly, see, I never really say this because I know that people would not. I would definitely like get into a whole back and forth with the bros, even women. If I said that, I'm gonna say it on here. Science, nature, nature does not support the male's existence. Only women do. And I say that because who's birthing them? We are. Now, it's not to say that we can't birth sons and guide them in the right direction. I've told you guys several times, I have a son, he has autism. There's a lot going on with that dude. Right? It's a lot going on with him. And you know, once I get to a certain point in my business, right? He's going to live with his father full time, right? Um because it's a lot on me. And it's not to say that his father isn't involved or anything like that, but the bulk of it is on me. So when I get to a point in my business, I got a whole thing worked out. I'm very methodical in everything that I do, very structured in things. I mean, I mess up and stuff. Of course, I'm not perfect, but I already have things worked out. How I want things to look, and and like quantum leaping into that timeline, basically. Excuse all this in the back, y'all. My son, he makes tape people, and he sticks like spare tape on my dresser. That's like a whole other thing that I have to get on him about. See what I'm saying? Autism. So so yeah, so basically once I get to the point, once bleh, get to that point in my business where I want to be, he will be living with his father full time. It will be on him. I'm still gonna do what I have to do, make sure he has the supports and the services and all of the things. But as far as like his living situation, who he's gonna be with most of the time, it will be his father, right? Because I'm building some things and I need to be in a space that's quiet. I need to be in a space that I don't have to constantly um constantly having to tidy up and clean. Like I'm gonna have a cleaning lady coming. I got a whole thing planned out. And so anyway, I don't want to go too far off on that tangent, but basically, like I was saying, we support their existence. Sexual conflict also leads women to think they can change. Yeah. And this is why I say that, we talk about all the time how men want to um and they do this, how they want us to see the world through their lens, like the man that we're married to or the man we've been with for a long time. They want us to view the world through their lens, and so it's like that's why they want girls when they're really really young so they can mold and shape them to be what they want them to be. But women do the same thing. Women use Jedi mind tricks to see and try and get a man to do what she wants him to do. And one of the ways that she does that is by ignoring the red flags, right? Future, for example. Yeah. So one of the ways that women use Jedi mind tricks is, of course, she'll know that he has like two baby mamas, right? And but she'll think she can change him. He's going to change. She's going to be able to change him. She's going to be able to do what none of these other baby mamas was able to do. And she's going to come in and she's going to be the one to change him, right? And so by her ignoring all of that and doing all of this performing and doing all of this extra shit and all because she's trying to change it. Those are the Jedi mind tricks that women like to play. And then when they see that the man is not doing what she wants him to do, then they get mad. And this is usually the case because men are gonna do whatever the fuck they want, right? They're gonna do whatever they want. So you can try to Jedi mind trick him all day long into marrying you. If he didn't marry them other two chicks, I don't know why you think he gonna marry you. He would have to go through like this complete 180. Like I'm talking, he would have to go on some sort of like I don't know, go on a retreat and spend like 6 weeks with some monks and fast and do all the semen like he would right? That's what he would have to do. If he not doing any of that, you can forget it. And most of them are not like that. Most of them are stuck in their base nature, right? You think that just because he's getting up, going to work every day and paying some bills, that he's not stuck in his base nature. Yes, he is. Right? If he didn't have to work and do like he wouldn't, he's doing it because he know he have to. His mama done told him, look, you can't move back in here. Right? Girlfriend finally done kicked him out. So he gotta go handle that now. He gotta go figure it out. His days of being a homosexual will start to be, numbered. Your days are numbered, right? You gotta go handle business. But I mean, you still got a lot of women that will take in a man. There was this dude, this was probably like last year. Um, this dude said he just got out of jail and he's just looking for a woman who can take him in and all the stuff he was saying. And these chicks was in the comment section. I was like, wow. Wow. So then it got me to thinking, are women really victims? They're not. But it got me to thinking, are they really victims? Are they really, like, what's going on with women? Like the desperation, it should be studied. The desperation that women have for a man should be studied. Like, but the crazy thing is that desperation is just your shadow trying to get your attention. That's all that is. It's so simple, yet it's so elusive. I love how you got a percentage on here. brown sugar, like 95% of women are. I love it. I love who you got the percentage on there. But like I said, the desperation is that shadow calling out, and it's so simple, right? But it's lost on women. It's like this elusive thing, right? And this is where the identity restoration comes in. Is everything is rooted in that. I talk about the identity swiping that takes place when you're born. And so these things are rooted in identity. You don't know who you are. That's why you operate like all these other women. That's why you're always trying to get the male gaze. Everything you do is for the male gaze. You're not putting on the you're not getting the new lipstick because you like the shade. You're getting it because you know if you get that lipstick and you put this makeup on and you do your hair this way, you wear this outfit, you're going to receive the male gaze. Right? I remember I was watching this documentary on Victoria's Secret about the whole Victoria's Secret empire. And the guy who was I forgot his position, it had something to do with marketing, and I think he was like over the marketing department. And he said that women work out so they can look good naked for men. And I was like, there's no lies there. He's not lying, right? So again, all of this is still rooted in the identity because you think that that's what you're supposed to do. You think that you have taken on the mindset that you are here for the male gaze, right? Everything that you do is for the male gaze. You're not doing it for yourself, you know. And women can right, women can lie to themselves all day long and say that they're doing this for themselves. No, you're not. You're doing it for the male gaze. And the reason why I know that you are, because most women have not have not done the work. But it's amazing, like my brain be moving faster than I can talk. It's amazing though, because you have so many women that are more open to it, to personal development. And this is why, as messed up as both men and women are, it's still easier to get to women. You can still talk to women. Women are still open to personal development, right? And that's the difference between us and men, because most men are not open to it. And I think the reason why you have so many men who are like Kevin Samuels, for example, right? When he first started his platform, it was getting on men. He was telling men about their hygiene. He was talking to them about, you know, their behavior and how they need to clean themselves up and they need to do this work on themselves. And he wasn't getting any. It really wasn't. He really wasn't. He didn't have the reach. Men didn't want to hear about that. But when he started talking about women, oh, I mean, forget about it. We know what Kevin Samuels was. I mean, we know how big he got for men. But he even knew personal development for men, they not trying to hear that. And so because he wasn't getting the numbers and the reach and men weren't really responding like he was hoping they would, he just switched on over to women. Right? And the thing with women is women, they love to be humiliated. So they'll go and sit up under a man and while he's verbally abusing her and telling her that, all the shit that he would say to women when they would call in, and then they'll go sit under men that are pandering to them. Like women, it's so easy to get them to go in all of these different directions. Their brains are very malleable. And so it's easy to get them to go in all these different directions. And when it comes to that for real work, that deep work, you still have women who are willing to do it, but a lot of them are not going to do it. They're only going to go so far. That's why certain types of work is, it's not going to be like, I know for me, for example, for the work that I do, there's so much depth in this intensive work that I do that I know a lot of women are not, like, it's going to be, I won't say they're not, it will be very hard for them to really get in here and do the work. And especially now that I've added things and, things have been upgraded. And so it's much more intensive. And so I know that, there's only going to be a certain type of woman who's going to be like, damn, I need to do that. I need that work. Right? Because it's transformational. I did it on myself. I'm still in that world, that realm of in the shadows. Like, that's just who I am. Um, Even being an entrepreneur, starting my business, creating your business as a woman, it does require levels of shadow work. And I didn't know that until I got into this. So it requires levels of shadow work, right? There's a divinity to this work. And in order to reach that level of divinity, you have to do the work. You got to dive into there and do that work, right? So, but like I said, the great thing is you do have women who want to do it. And even if you just get to a certain point, just the fact that you're open to it, that tells you that it's easier to get, to work. It's easier for women, are more open to personal development work, right? So it's very nuanced, though. Like I said, for men, for the most part, they're not doing it. But for women, it's very nuanced. So you'll have some women who are doing certain types of work, and it's actually helping them to, in their lives, and it's helping them to change certain aspects of their lives. And then you have other, works like what I do, which takes it much, much deeper. So, I mean, it's very nuanced, right? It's all in, where you want to go. But I know for me, the core of what I do is identity restoration and reinstalling inner authority. And so in order to do that, you have to figure out when did I give that up? What happened? Where's the trauma? All of these things that start to take place when you come into the container, right? Because it makes you look at your decisions. I don't like to dwell in the past. I think that's more of like therapist work. So the therapist is really just focusing. They take you into the past, and then they even help you see your patterns and stuff like that, which is great. I think that's needed. But if you're really, really for real about getting deep, deep into that, then you have to work within the body, and this is where I come in. So we get into the nervous system regulation, but we're dealing with what's in the body, not just what you're thinking and your patterns, but what does it feel like? And this is why I did an article months ago where I talked about how women need to feel again. Women are busy. We're like shock absorbers. Everybody's stuff. We're just absorbing everybody's stuff to the point we don't even know our own. So it's like, how do you start to feel again? And that's what takes place within the work that I'm doing. It's helping you to feel again, right? And it's interesting because I know for me, like, I'm very, excuse me, like I said, we're always doing the work on ourselves, or I'm always working on myself. So I go, I think about, like, let's say if something is very triggering for me, um, the first thing is, okay, the mental part of it, um, right? I'm analyzing it, right? The logical part of it, but then I can't ignore how it makes me feel. Like, my nervous system, it feels a little dysregulated. Why do I feel like that? Why would this person say, why did it make me feel? I know the logical part of it, but why did it make me feel like that? Right? And so this is what we get into in the container. If you haven't booked your discovery call, my link is in my bio. You can just click right on it, it'll take you right to it. And then we'll see if the 4-week container is right for you. So, but anyway, after that plug, uh, the sexual conflict, you know, as I said before, it's like this invisible force, and you can almost feel it. You kind of already know that when you start any sort of interaction with a man, you already kind of know that, like, you already have in your head that there's going to be some games, right? You already have in your head that, he's probably going to lie to you about something. or he's gonna say all the right things so he can get what he wants. Like, you already kind of know this going in, and which I always find that so interesting too, because it's like we know that this takes place as women, but we still do it. Is that interesting? We still do it. It must be something in us that we think that, okay, he's different from the rest of them. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not different. That's the same dude. It's the same dude. And the reason why it's the same dude is because you, ma'am, haven't done any work on yourself. You just keep going from dude to dude to dude, right? Let's see. Yes, you can feel. I attended a friend's wedding and was there, and his new girl gave me that. Yeah, I'm telling you, you can feel it. And see, women have gotten so far away from, really listening and pay attention to that intuitive nature they love to talk about. They love to talk about their women's intuition, but most women don't even listen to it. And I think that it's like part of this, I think, goes back to all these TV shows we be watching. Two was only 4 dates and no intimacy at all with him. Yeah. And see, and I think I think part of that is, we watching all these movies and TV shows, and we're thinking that we're supposed to have like this huge, like, epiphany, or this thing that's gonna show us, like, whoa, he's not right for you. Like, it's just gonna knock you over the head or something. And no, a lot of times it's very subtle. But we're so used to ignoring it, right? And then it has to keep getting our attention. So the first thing, it could be very subtle. It could be something as you know, something like him, I don't know, pulling up and blowing the horn. Like, what? Or um the way he treats the waitress at the restaurant, if he's like dismissive and just sort of, you know what I mean? These are like little subtleties, right? But women will ignore that. And women have this thing, and this is all talk about women being narcissists, because women can be very evil and very vicious towards other women, because she will see that he's being an asshole towards another woman, and she'll just be okay with that shit. Right? What makes you think he's not going to treat you like that eventually? Especially after y'all have sex. What makes you think that he's not going to mistreat you after y'all done fucking? Right? And that's usually what happens. So you've just ignored all the other red flags. You've ignored all the little subtle things that was like getting your attention because you want that man. Right? Then next thing you know, you're in so deep, right? Now you can't get out. One man smoked 4 blunts in 4 hours. Blocked him immediately. Exactly. Because smoking 4 blunts in four blunts of, you already know you already kind of know what kind of dude this is. He a pothead or a butthead. So you already know where that's going, right? Can you close my door back, please? Thank you, ma'am. So you already know where that's headed. That's why I always say women watching, because yep, absolutely. And women always think that they're not going to be victim. You always think you're not going to be his next conquest or his next victim or whatever, right? You always think, not me. I mean, and drove me home. Oh my God. Well, I'm glad you left him alone after that. That's crazy. But yeah, I heard this dude. I used to, I mean, he was like really, I mean, he was kind of cool. He was a cool dude. But that dude was a butthead. And I was like, I can't. I was like, I don't even know how he is when he's not high. I guess he was so cool when he's high. Like, we could get into these really great conversations. And I got a little bit, I'll take it back. I think I remember getting a little bit of a taste, just like a taste of how he is when he's sober. And he was kind of mean. And I thought that was very interesting at that time. So I was like, okay. it was such a contrast that I could not. I was like, I can't do this. And I've made some silly mistakes dealing with dudes. You know, I've ignored red flags when I was young and all that. Laugh on. Oh, and the money wasted too. Right, exactly. Um. So yeah, I was like, okay, he's mean when he's sober. I don't want to be with somebody like that. And that was like a huge red flag because it was such a contrast in his behavior. And so I was like, nope, not doing it. So I dodged that bullet because who knows what would have taken place. Um, so I mean, it's like it's one thing to eat some gummies. I'll do that. You know, you can smoke a blunt every once in a while. I mean, that's cool. I get it. No shade or nothing like that. I've done it, right? But a bud head, no, that's something altogether. That's a whole other animal. I can't do it. Most red flags show up within 3 to yes. Yes, I remember who's that said just give them 90 days. You'll see it. You'll see it all in 90 days. So yeah, that's about right. 3 months. Yep, you'll see it all in 90 days. You just got to pay close attention. That's why you have to be the observer. When you get into these entanglements, the beginning of the entanglement, you have to be the observer. You have to observe him, yourself, everything, all of that. You have to be in the position of the observer. You can't just be in it like some my man. Get out of it like that's daughtership, right? You're not in high school. You're a grown ass woman. You need to observe what's going on with your interactions with this dude, right? You have to pay very close attention to how you feel after you get off the phone with him or after you're done spending time with him. Like, is there this simultaneous feeling of feeling good but then feeling kind of like you have to listen, observe, and not get attached. Date to listen and turn review. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that because women have been given such a bad rap when it comes to intuition and the feelings, because like, oh, you're so emotional. Well, yeah, women govern that, and we need to listen to that. Being emotional isn't always just flying off the handle. It's just being very much in tuned with your mind and your body. It's holistic. This is what people aren't like. You being very in tune with yourself and your emotions, emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, that's holistic. You can't separate it. It all goes together. Sometimes as a woman you're above him in class, he'll try and fake. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's another thing. So being so called emotional, we, like I said, we've been given such a bad rap, but I think this is why we don't listen to that intuition. We don't, because like I said, it's the subtleties. It's not always, just flying off the deep end. It's the subtleties, right? So those feelings that I always call it, I'm talking about my nervous system. I always call it my alarm system, right? Um, so it's like, okay, my alarm system is going off, right? And so we have to, it's like, as women, it's like we got to get back to really really paying attention to that, and allowing ourselves to feel it, and being able to distinguish, okay, is this a feeling of um am I being cloudy, right? You got to sit with that, and women don't sit with that. They just, it feels good at the moment, and that's what they go off of, that dopamine. But what happens once the dopamine wears off? Then what? Right? What happens when, I always talk about the biological narcotic? What happens when the biological narcotic wears off? Then what? Like, this is the thing that women are not doing. You have to pay so much attention to that, because this is where you end up getting played. Men know, they are very good at being emotional manipulators. They're very good at that, right? And so as a woman, you have to know that going in. I don't care what this dude says. I don't care. None of it matters. None of it matters. You have to look out for you first. You have to observe him. You got to observe yourself. You got to observe how he interacts with other people. I mean, all of this is what you need to be doing. Like you said, Brown Sugar, within the first, 3 months? That's what you need to be doing. You need to be simply observing him for the first 3 to 6 months. That's all you need to be doing is observing him. Like, you need to be on some, like, like private investigator type shit. Like, that's what you, not snooping through his things, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you gotta be like, you know how women love to play I Spy, Private Eye, going through his phone and doing all this stuff they be doing. No, you should be doing that in the beginning of the relationship, not going through his phone, but you know what I'm saying. Like, being the observer, observing him, right? Paying attention to how he responds to you in certain situations, like all of that stuff. You need to be doing all of that, right? How does he respond when you say, if you mention about your education, like, you're just in conversation and you're talking, you're telling each other about, like, you're telling him about you, he's telling you about himself, your background, and you tell him, well, yeah, I went to school, I got my degree, blah, blah, blah. Like, how does he respond to that? Right? One guy I reconnected with had one baby mama one day while talking. He mentioned my cousin had died. I blocked him because he showed that he still had an emotion. Absolutely. I love that. That's what women have to do. That's what we have to do. As soon as you see, oh, we're done. Nope, no further. Mm-mm. Me not doing it. And I love that. And that goes back to what you were saying, that if women really got serious about that, most men would be eliminated. They would. They would have to go back to the male hierarchy and figure out what to do with that. They wouldn't have a woman to give them that social credit they look for in the male hierarchy, because that's another thing with men. They want to be with you because it makes them look good to the male hierarchy, right? So, as I say, women, we hold all the power, and just give it over to men. I tell you, didn't I say, y'all, every time I'm on live somebody calls me, um phone ain't rang all day. Then when I go live, here they come. Here come the people calling. But yeah, so that's why I said, women, we women have power, and just give it up to men all the time. Everything. I mean, give up all of the things that you wanted to do in life just so you can get a man. Yes, I think so many women accept red flags if they get comfortable exposing themselves. Absolutely. And so you have to ask yourself, though, like, why are women so comfortable with accepting the red flags? The desperation for having a man, what is it? Phallus worship, you know? Men always talk about, in-house, I don't know what I can say on here, what I can't say. So, in-house, the P word, but women like having in-house, you know, the D word. So, makes you wonder, because it's a way to show other women they can get and keep a man. Yeah, so it goes back to that sexual competition between women. It's a lot going on with women as it relates to men in these relationships, because a lot of it has nothing to do with the man. Just like with the man, it has nothing to do with the woman. It has to do with what he looks like amongst the males in the male hierarchy. And for women, it's that whole thing of, my man, look at what I have. Where's your man? I got a man and you don't. Right? So really, it has nothing to do with the individual man or woman. It really has to do with what it looks like for you. There is a societal benefit for a woman who's married, right? There is that societal benefit, that sort of social credit that she does receive when she has a man. I mean, we see it all the time. It's like, even like, okay, like in movies, television, stuff like that, all you have to do is mention that, you're the wife of so and so, and it's like, oh, right? Also to show a fake lifestyle. Oh yeah, they be faking and shaking all day long on social media. But yeah, I mean, it's so there is a societal benefit to that. And like I said, and for men, it makes them look good, to the other men in the hierarchy. So there are some benefits. I mean, we know that there's like this quiet, like this invisible privilege, I guess, if that's what I want to call it, for men in like corporate, if they have a wife, and children, if they have a family, he's most likely to get promoted. He's most likely to be, invited into like the boys club, the inner male circle. He's most likely, um, going to be invited into that if he has that whole family thing going on. So men know what they're doing. And, for women, like I said, it makes him look, a certain way. My husband, blah, 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 my husband this, my husband that. I mean, and you see it all the time in the different movies and series and stuff. And so, and you, I mean, you see it in real life, you know, excuse me. So it's definitely a social benefit, but I mean, social benefit, and it's a benefit, privileges, benefits. This is what people want. This is why they get into these relationships and these marriages, for privileges and benefits. Now, should both parties benefit being in the relationship? Absolutely. Both should benefit. It should be beneficial for both parties, because why else are we doing this? But for the most of these relationships, it's uneven. One is benefiting more from the other. And I mean, we all know that men benefit more from marriage than women do. I don't care what anybody says. We can get into the privileges that women are afforded in these marriages, right? But the benefits, right? That's different. And men wholeheartedly benefit more, right? So we know this. I mean, the stats don't lie. So, yeah, so again, all of this still circles us right back to the sexual conflict that takes place naturally between men and women. And if people would really, really study that and study themselves and understand the way their hormones work, understand what hormones are coming online, um, uh, how men respond, how women respond. And like I said, once that biological narcotic wears off, then what? I was watching this thing about marriage. I can't remember if it was Carl Jung, or it might have been Schopenhauer. I'm not sure which one it was, but they were talking about when you first get married and you're on that high, that honeymoon phase, right? Hey, Danielle. And you're on that high and you're in the honeymoon phase, and I can't remember how long the honeymoon phase lasts, but once it wears off, then you're like, okay, now what? And I think that we have been given this narrative that the honeymoon phase never wears off, but we know that that's all bullshit, because we've been in relationships. We know that the honeymoon phase wears off. We know that, we've experienced it, right? I know for me, I mean, like, I had to make it, like, I think, and a lot of women, I'm sure women can attest to this. You get to a point where you're really not feeling this dude anymore, right? If you stop, because women are like this, they're chaotic. If you stop and just be still, you'll start to see how I don't really feel the same way I did. And I think for a lot of women, it scares us, right? Because we think we're supposed to maintain this, it has to stay hot and heavy, and And so, and then we get in these like different examples when we're watching television, stuff like that. It's such a great programming. Like, y'all look at Edward Bernays, the father of propaganda. This thing is so great in how it has mind fucked us all. And I always say that our biology has been conditioned. People love to say, oh, people act like that because of conditioning. Yeah, there is conditioning taking place, but your biology has been conditioned. Look at, think about that one. But I know for me, there were so many instances where I was just like, damn, like I'm just not. And I felt bad because I did not feel it anymore. But I kept trying to make myself feel it. And it just wasn't there. And I think that's what so many people do. They're forcing themselves to still try to have those same feelings they had 2 years ago. And you just don't. And it's not even the person doing anything to you. It's natural to not like we go against nature so much. We're always trying to fight nature. Now, I always talk about the base nature of humans, right? And so I always refer to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where most humans are at the first three tiers. So what is that? Food, clothing, shelter, sex, intimacy, reproduction, all of that, right? Even love is somewhere in there. You would think love would be further up, but actually the highest frequency is self-mastery, or self-actualization. But when we talk about that base nature, right? Once you come out of that base nature and you start rising above those tiers, then you will see that the biology, right, it wears off, because what you're trying to get to is self-mastery. There's no higher love than self-love. There, self-mastery is actually higher. If you look at the different frequencies of like personal development, self-development work, or whatever it's called, if you look at the very top of that frequency, that pyramid is self-mastery, and right underneath it is love. So if you are working your way up that tier, you have worked your you've gotten past that base nature, right? So your biology is your base nature. You have to rise above that. So that's why I say, what happens when the biological narcotic wears off? That's a natural occurrence, especially if you're doing the work. Especially if you're doing the work. It's a natural occurrence, but we fight it, right? So what does this have to do with sexual conflict, y'all? I mean, it connects, right? I think so. I think it connects us all in there, the sexual conflict, right? So I just think that, you know, if you happen to have to be able to have an experience with a man who's on that same trajectory, I think it's beautiful. Because what ends up happening is you guys aren't trying to own each other, right? He knows that you have to go do what you got to do to do the work on yourself. Go be great, and she knows that he has to go be great. He's purpose driven. She's purpose driven, right? And you respect each other for that. So you've gotten past just that biological, you know, you've gotten past the biological part of it. It's like now you're seeing two people who can see each other, and see the humanity in each other and have that respect, and and able to exist cohesively. That's rare. I think most marriages and long-term relationships are not existing cohesively. I just think that most people are codependent, and so they just make that shit work, right? They just stay together. Oh, we got kids, might as well stay together, right? So I think that that's most relationships. When I hear a woman say her man is just this wonderful, whatever, whatever, the first thing I'm going to assume is that, oh, he must do a very great job at taming that beast that's inside of him. He must do a great job at that. And when I say stuff like that, of course, that conjures up all sorts of thoughts. I'm not talking about a man who's beating your ass. He don't have to be beating on you. But that doesn't mean he still don't have that beast inside of him. They all do, right? Men have that untamed beast, and women have that vicious, jealous thing within us that we have to address, right? So none of us are exempt from our biology, but you have to be very aware of it. Speaking of biology, I said not too long ago that women need to be very well versed in biology. If women were very well versed in biology, they would do a much better job at managing their wombs. Women mismanage their wombs too much for me. I mean, this is insane. Like, I was in my car the other day, me and my daughter, forgot where we were going. And I was like, all these people walking around here, they couldn't even be here except through a woman. And she said, Mommy, I was thinking about that too. She said, not too long ago, I was thinking about that. And I mean, of course, that's obvious, right? But if you really think about it, think about all the people walking around here that are fucked up. And they came through a woman. Women have done the worst job in managing their wombs. They continuously mismanage their wombs. You need to be well versed in biology, just like somebody who's teaching it on an academic in an academic setting. You need to be just as well versed in it as a woman. A woman needs to be well versed in biology. She needs to be well versed in psychology, neurology, all of these things, especially if she's gonna be birthing males. You gotta be well versed in the male psychology and the neurology. You have to, right? If you're gonna do it, be very well versed in these sciences. Women are just going around here having sex with whoever, bringing babies here, just a free for all. They're very free with themselves. Then they get mad when government daddy wants to put restrictions on the wombs. They don't like that. I don't agree that a bunch of men should get together and decide what women should do with their wombs, but at the same time, I'm not surprised because women mismanage their wombs too much. So it's very nuanced. I'm very much pro-choice, but I get it. And most people aren't pro-life; they're just pro-birth. They don't really care about the wombs or the babies. It's all about the cogs in the machine. And I think for men, for the most part, it's just like an ego boost. Oh, look at what I did. He don't really care. He don't like you or them kids. It's just, ooh, look what I did. It's an ego boost for them, right? Think about it. If men really knew the true science of their bodies and a woman's body, they would know that the only reason why we need their sperm is because our bodies don't remember. And they still kind of remember, but they don't. We live in an inverted system. This system is not conducive to getting pregnant via parthenogenesis. That's the only reason why we need their sperm. Yo, look, women got to get smart about whose sperm they are allowing in their wombs. Like, there used to be a time where women would vet. It was about the strongest, the most capable. I mean, now women just letting anybody up in there. This dude could have rode the little yellow bus, been in all the remedial classes, got held back a grade, never graduated from high school. They don't care. They don't care. And I'm like, okay, if it's all about just the D, then make him wear a condom. So that way you don't have to be carrying his seed. Like, why would you want that in you? Why would you want degenerate DNA in your womb? Why? I would love to get your take on this video. Child, I can't even it's not hyperlinked. Can you dang it. I don't know how to. Oh, you know what you could do? Maybe once this is over, you could copy and paste it in how you can make a comment instead of putting it in the chat, because it's not, I don't even know how I can get to it because it's not hyperlinked. Or even if you just took a screenshot, I don't know. But I definitely want to see what you're talking about. Or you can just you know what? Send this to me in my DM. Just direct message me on here and send it to me, and then I'll look at it. Funny enough, scientists could research sperm and eliminate weak ones, but yet they don't because losers being born is absolutely because they need cogs. I mean, somebody got to work in them damn factories, right? Somebody got to work the assembly line. Oh my god! This is what I'm saying. Women have all the power. If women would just be like, "Fuck it, we have no, we done." Like seriously, you hear about the 4B movement, right? In one of them Koreas, which one is it? This is the first time ever in that part of Korea. I don't know if it's North Korea or South Korea, y'all, one of those. But this is the first time ever in history over there they do not have an incoming kindergarten class. Right? Okay, I'll send a comment. Yeah, because I definitely want to see what you're talking about. So yeah, like think about the power that you hold. And I think I don't know what it is. Because the stats are telling us that I think it's like 75% of women don't even orgasm from penetrative sex. So then what are y'all doing? Like what are y'all doing? So what is it? That's what I want to know. So anyway, I say all of these things because I just want women to think. Like I want women to really, really think. Women don't think. And I mean, they don't have to. This place is set up so to where it's women are actually encouraged not to think. You're encouraged to be like a dummy bitch. This is why when women who are extremely articulate and all of these things, the bros come in the comment section and they want to do some sort of like humiliation ritual. Like I get them in my comment section all the time. Like I could go in here and do like a full on long form post where I'm just going in and I'm spitting the science. I'm doing all of this, and a Negro will come in my comment section and be like, "That's not true. What are you talking about? What's not true? What are you talking about?" Like this is what they do. It's amazing to me. I can honestly say that at this point, I think most men, like I think any man I come into contact with at this point is not my equal. Um, he's just not. Like you got to be able to stimulate my intellect to the point where my mind is blown at this point. Like you got to come with like some serious like some shit you done seriously pulled out of the ether somewhere to where I'm like, damn, like that. I don't know. They don't even read one book. Let me tell you, these dudes is showing me every day. Like, I'm not even talking about social media. I'm talking about, in the physical world here. Like, they are showing me every day that it's slim pickings out there. I see why women have decided to, stop dealing with them. Um, yeah. I mean, it's like you really got to be like, it's like we need like all new ones. We need like a whole new breed of men. We need to throw all the other ones in the way, throw them all away, and just get like some new ones. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I laugh and joke around a little bit, but I guess they say under every joke is some truth, right? So I'm just saying, women have to be very cognizant and very aware of the sexual conflict that is naturally there between them and men. And I think that, once you gain an understanding of that, then it's like nobody's saying you can't have a great experience. I think the reason why women have so many terrible experiences is because it really is what they're attracting. It really, really is. And like attracts like, right? Because, like, I can honestly say, like, when I'm talking to my brother, um, there's like all of this, um, it's like intellect, high level, great conversations that we're having, very stimulating for me intellectually. Um, and I would say him and one other man that I know, where it's like, wow, I wouldn't have never thought about that. Or, and we're having like these great interactions, right? So it's not to say that you can't have that, but I just think it's very rare. And that's why we have to get into the natural impediments that the male child comes here with. And if you have a male child, just as a mother, you have to like really accept that you're gonna have to do so much work for him to be able to be a productive member of society, because most people are not going to come here on that like 3 to 6% on the standard deviation curve where there's like genius level intellect. Most people are going to fall within that 67%, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can still go do great things, right? It's not just about your intellect. There's whole other things that come into play here. But you have to know that if you have a male child, you're going to have to do so much for him. He's going to have to be supported so much when he's young. So that way, when he is able to get out into the world, he's not because men are just as delusional as women. And so he gets out into that world and he's not delusional about how the world works. He's not entitled. He doesn't think that every single woman that comes to his orbit, he somehow has some sort of like weird ownership of her. Like these are the things that they have to be prepared for, and not listening to what the male hierarchy is telling them about themselves and how they relate to women, and having an understanding of their own biology and how their brains work, right? And understanding how when they get stressed out, how they have increased levels of testosterone and how to deal with that, right? These are things that the male child needs to be taught. And so, mother, she has to be well versed in these things. You have to be. So, and of course, teaching your daughters about how their bodies work. Hey, if he tells you you can't get pregnant the first time, he's fucking lying to you. You can get pregnant. Have you had a menstrual cycle? Yeah, okay, well, you can get pregnant. Like, what are you talking about? So, like that's the game, and I'm assuming that dudes are still running that kind of game to this day. They were saying that shit when I was in high school, telling girls, "Oh, you can't get pregnant the first time." And I would see like some girls in my high school, they walk around with big bellies, and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" Oh, he said I couldn't get pregnant the first time. What are you talking about? You have a menstrual cycle every month. You can get pregnant the first time. Like, so this is what I'm saying when I say that women don't even know how their own bodies work. You know? Let me put the head in. Oh my God. Are you serious? I think I've heard that one too, actually. So that's what I'm saying. And it's like you have to also accept that, you are seen as a pleasure source, right? Almost. So that's what that made me think of, Tiara, when you said let me put the head in. Like they really it's all about, let me see, what she's like, you know? That male biology is a motherfucker. It really is. They really, really need to do the work, you know? Why do you want to conquer every single woman you come into contact with? Why do you think you're supposed to do that? And why do you want to do that? I mean, I would think that would be exhausting at this point, right? Because of the sexual conflict. Nobody's coming into this just being themselves, because you just being yourself is not acceptable. You have to perform. What did Shakespeare say? The world is a stage and we're all performing basically. So, anyway, I'm going to dip out of here, ladies. Brown sugar, I will look for that link from you so I can check out the video. Um, Again, link is in my bio, but I think, let's see. Well, Tiara is a former client of mine. So those of you who have not worked with me, link is in my bio. You can go to my link and you can see everything. There is the quiz to decode your shadow. Dark feminine activation code, 4-week container is on. And you can book your discovery call to see if it's the right path for you. I also have other things at my stand store. I have master classes. Also have a community you can join. So you can go over there and check it out. And I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and dip out of here because I have to go get food because mama is not cooking. So, all right, ladies. That's it. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.